How's it going, guys? A lot of people have been asking for some sort of tutorial just to show everyone what I've learned in however long I've been editing. I don't know how long it's been. It hasn't been a long time, but I just kind of wanted to share with everyone everything I've learned. It's not just the editing side. I kind of want to show you guys like kind of the community and how to improve and how to kind of get connected and get feedback and where to go if you want to see how editing is done, kind of like like where you can find really great editing. So I'll be focusing on After Effects since that's what I use. I don't use Sony Vegas. So this is kind of for people that want to get into editing if they've never learned. I recommend starting with After Effects. Or maybe if you're a Sony Vegas guy and you want to get into After Effects, hopefully I can help you out with that. So like I said, I'm going to start off super broadly, right? And I think the best way to do that would be to start off with like PC footage, because PC footage is such high FPS. That's the difference between PC and console footage. Console is usually 30 FPS, frames per second, or 60 FPS, and PC can be 600, you know, like some crazy number of frames per second. So what you do if you're looking for PC footage, you start looking up clips in desk on YouTube. Simple as that. You go in here, you look through. I already chose some. Yeah, here. He's an amazing editor. I love this edit. And he offered to share the clips that he used for the edit that you can go in and download. I already downloaded them just to save me the time. They're in here. And then, so that's how you get the footage, right? How do you find music? Let's just use this edit as an example. If you're a beginner and you're just kind of learning how to edit, it's okay to use overused songs. That's totally fine. But once you start learning how to edit and you become more intermediate, it's better not to use overused songs. So I found it. Here's a song. Great song. I love it. But instead of instead of just straight up using the song, what you can do is go to the artist, look at the other tracks he's made. Okay, here you can see all the tracks he's made. Go into his likes, the artist's likes. You can view all his likes. Or if you really can't find other music he's made that you also like, just go to this song, go to related tracks. It'll show you a bunch of tracks that are related to this one. And you know, just kind of like, honestly, searching for music probably takes the longest. The music definitely dictates the style, the way you're gonna edit the the actual edit. So the song is pretty important. I mean, what editors do is they'll listen to the song and they'll imagine what the edit should be like just from the song. You know what I mean? So like, let's just take this song for example. So let's say we start right there. These are just cinematics. Bam. Reload. That's cinematic. You know what I mean? Like, so you listen to the song, and then, like, it's kind of hard to like say it out loud, right? But like, while you're listening, you kind of try to like imagine what would look cool, and the way you imagine that kind of stuff is from watching other great editors, and kind of taking in what looks cool, and just from all that kind of stuff. You can start to do it yourself, but I already picked a song, so we're gonna go into After Effects. If when you open After Effects it doesn't look like this, just simply go to Window, Workspace, make sure it's on Effects. You might have all panels. This is kind of aids, right? If this is what you have, and if you want to get what the kind of layout that I'm working with, go just go over there and click on Effects. So let's go ahead and bring in our clips. You can go to File and you can do Import File, but I think it's much faster just to go in here, make sure this box is highlighted, right click in the box, go to Import File, go ahead and Import Folder. So here are the insert clips. So let's bring in the song. This is the song right here. Now we're gonna create a composition, which is where all our footage is gonna go into. So we're gonna go into composition, new composition. So you can call it whatever you want. I like to call it main comp. But this is super important. This is the quality of the video, 1080p, 1920 by 1080. Lock aspect ratio at 16 by 19. That's just widescreen. Do not, even if your footage is 720p, always have it 1080p. Super important, guys. I cannot stress this enough. Always want 1080p, and I'll show you what you can do to 720 quality clips. I mean, you just upscale them, but it's super important. This is also super important right here. When people are starting off, they think 60 frames per second is like better, it's higher quality. It's not. I promise you, it's gonna look strange, it's gonna look too quick. It's a big no in the editing community. This is what you want right here, 30 frames per second on everything, any edit you make. Even if your footage, I mean, this footage I'll be using is like 600 frames per second. And even then, we're going with 30 frames per second. Super important. Duration, just do it whatever you want. Let's say I kind of mess up and I only give myself like 5 seconds, which kind of is lame. And I kind of want to fix my composition. Just go back into composition settings, and you can change that right up. So I want this to be kind of long. So here's our composition. The quality and everything is in there. Let's bring in our song. There's our song. We just drag it in. So press L twice. And it'll show you the waveform of the song. Sometimes it won't show you the waveform like this. So go ahead and go into this little, like, right next to your main comp. Go into this little box. Make sure that's unchecked, rectified audio waveforms, just so that you have the waveforms like that. And then, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. You have to listen to the song and imagine what you want happening as the song is going. I know I want to like skip into the song because I've listened to the song a lot. So we're gonna just pretty much cut all that. Okay, and so now we're gonna want the song to fade in instead of just like starting off full volume. It's not very subtle. So we're gonna want to close this, close like the information of this. So these lines, and when you start adding stuff, these are called layers. And this little arrow will show you the information for each layer. So since this is just a song, there's only audio. There's no effects or visual stuff. It's just audio. So when you see the stopwatch, every time you see it, like no matter what, you'll see this thing everywhere. When you click it, you're now telling After Effects, I want to change this value, right? So so this little diamond will appear right where your time indicator is. This blue line is I don't have any footage, but it's showing the exact frame. So if I zoom in here, and this kind of helped me understand it. So this like highlighted area, this is the exact frame that this blue line is going to show on your screen, but I don't have any footage right now, so it's not showing anything obviously. But we're just going to make the music fade in. I don't know what happened to it, so let's bring that in. Oh, and I did that with open bracket. So if your footage is out here, you do open bracket, it'll just come right to you, come right to your time indicator, not to you. So if I have my time indicator right here, open bracket, it'll shift over there. So yeah, let's get the music to fade in. Okay, so I want the music to be full volume right here. So I put a little diamond. And so from this diamond to that diamond, the volume is going to change. So over here, I want it to be maybe like -30, right? And so from here, from this diamond to this diamond, this frame, this exact moment in time, this song is -30 decibels. And over here it's 0, which means like normal level. 0 doesn't mean mute. That's what I thought at first too. If you click in this little area where my mouse is, it highlights both diamonds. It highlights these, and these are called keyframes. So I'm going to stop calling them diamonds. We're going to call them keyframes. So when you click right here, it's going to highlight the keyframes. This is a super important thing in After Effects Graph Editor. This is going to let you make everything smooth, but we do want the song to like ease into full volume. So when you're in the Graph Editor, you can click on each keyframe, whatever keyframe you want. We're going to click on this one. down here, it's going to let you manipulate the graph a little more. It's going to give you these little handles on the keyframes so that you can make the graph look however you want. So we're going to want a little handle sticking out here so that we can curve it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Gave me a little handlebar over here. So now the song is gradually increasing, and then it like flows into full volume. And I'm elaborating so much just because this might just be for the audio for now, like right now. But when I throw the footage in, we're going to be doing this for the footage. So this is super, super important. Super important just to understand that concept. That you need to go in here, and you don't want anything to be linear because linear doesn't look very good. It looks very amateur. So now you have to listen to the song and see, kind of imagine what you want the edit to start looking like. So let's see. Oh, and also you need to, so when you're using prereqs, you need to know what's available to you, right? Yeah, I'll be starting off with this for sure, because this is a sniper clip, and I want the edit to begin with some impact. When she starts saying, I get fucking pissed off. So right when she says I want to bring the clip in right before he shoots, and then when she says pissed off, that's when I want him to shoot. And you can see in the waveform, it's pretty clear. But when it's not clear, which is actually usually the case, usually the song is kind of all over the place. When it's not clear and you're having difficulty finding exactly where a point in the song is, what I do is I put in like a gunshot sound. So if, say this audio is like super, super like, what's the right word? Like the waveform is just, you can't really notice any differences in it. So I like to drag a sniper sound in. And then just use that to, it's actually pretty accurate, I've found. Just to use that to find out exactly where you want the beats to be. Oh, and also this marker, you just come over here and you can click and drag it over. Just because I didn't explain that. So that's where I want the first shot to be. So let's just bring in the clip. Clip 1, I think it is. So when you click on the footage, so this is clip 1. Up here, it'll show you all the information you need, and it'll give you a little picture. I like that. When I click on clip 1, up here, it tells me it's 600 FPS. Okay, 5999999, 600. And it gives me the quality and everything, 1080p, that's great. We're going to want to right click. We're going to want to go to interpret footage, go to main, and instead of 600, we're going to want 30. Okay? Just press enter. And what this does is essentially makes the whole clip super slow motion. So this is where I want the clip to start right here. On the I get. So I'm going to click on the clip, press open bracket, so I start the clip right there. And then I'm going to right click, go to time, enable time remap. So this is a pretty, like, this is what I found to be the easiest way to sync. But this is only, like, this is the best way to sync high FPS clips. When it comes to console footage, and I'll show you guys later, console footage, you're going to need twixtor. And there's a third way. So there's time remap, what I just did. There's something called twixtor, which I'll show you later with console Destiny 30 FPS, like the worst case scenario. And then there's this thing which I don't really use, but this is pretty much exactly like Sony Vegas if you're more comfortable with that. If you're coming from Sony Vegas, I don't think I need to explain this because, well, I honestly can't explain it. I don't use it. But that is another option. So I found really 3 options when it comes to syncing. So those are the 3: time remap, twixtor, and velocity remap. And this is a plugin, and so is twixtor. But time remap comes with vanilla After Effects. You don't need anything extra. So what time remap is? So when you enable time remap, so this is the clip right here, and so what it does is it gives you a keyframe at the beginning and end of the clip. But then you can set your own keyframes. So these little diamonds are attached to a certain time of the clip. So if I go to this diamond, this diamond is attached to this time right here. Okay. And I can change this. I can go 1 minute in. I don't know if this clip is even a minute long. Is it? And so now this diamond is attached to 1 minute into the clip. You can see because you already got the kill. There's 100 right there. I don't want that. Okay. We're gonna set it back to 0 for now. But yeah, so these diamonds will be attached to certain points in time, if that makes sense. So here it is. I set the diamond, and this right now it's attached to this time in the clip. So this keyframe is attached to 1 second and 2 frames into the clip, but he's not shooting yet. So I want to go find the point in time when he actually shoots his gun, or like zooms in and is about to shoot. And so I'll just go ahead and drag this to the right, and you can see the time going forward, and he's scoping in. And let's just get one. Let's just get one frame of the actual shot. Oh. And let's actually, yeah, that's good. So right now we have from time 0 to this time when he shoots the gun, which is perfect. But I actually want the clip to start a little later, when he like has is ready to shoot. When he starts, you can tell when he starts to aim. So right now he's gonna start to aim. And so now we have our little chunk of footage. And so let's actually end it right there, just the clip. So you can press Alt and bracket to end the clip right there. And let's see what we got so far. Let's see, let me end. Oh, and if you want to end the composition, just press N on your keyboard. And so when you press play, it'll render that little part. So when you look at this green line shows you what's rendered out, which means After Effects can actually show you what's going on, but it has to think about it first. So let's kind of zoom in on this part. So when you want the composition to start, just press B. And composition just means like this little box right here is what will be shown when you press play. So that doesn't look too good, right? That's super linear. So this is where the graph comes back into play. Press J and K to go from keyframe to keyframe. Super helpful as well. You press this little area again, right before the number. You go into graph editor. Actually, this will be easier. We can delete this keyframe right here because we don't need it. So we press this little area again. We go into graph editor. And here we can see what's going on with the clip. So it's super linear, as you can see. It goes from this point in time to that point in time in a linear way, which is not the way to edit a clip like this. So then we click on the keyframe we want to manipulate. So I want to change this one up, or this like side of the clip. I want a handlebar coming out like this, and this is the shape you're gonna want when it comes to editing PC footage with high frames per second. Okay. And so let's watch that. So that looks a little better. And see what I'm showing you right here. This is the general shape. But from this, you're going to want to manipulate it to whatever the clip needs to look like. So let's actually put a keyframe right in the middle. And I kind of want it to... And so now you can start manipulating the graph to make it look more like how you want it to look. So let's see. And now you just play around. Now you really just play around with the footage and see what looks good, see what doesn't look good. That doesn't look too good, I don't think. try that.
Okay,
now we can actually watch it because it was rendered. Yeah, I don't like that for some reason. It's not looking too good. Let's see. It's just let me try this. And see, this is going to be a lot of trial and error, as you can clearly see. But I kind of like it better than what I had before. Let's make it just a little less. Dang, I don't like it. Maybe it needs to start a little earlier. Maybe that's the thing. So what you can do to change the values is just go ahead and when you press shift, it makes it go in a straight line, and I just wanted to go straight down. Maybe that'll look better. Maybe this start over. I think it definitely needs to start over. Okay, that's better. It's still too sharp though. Okay, we're just gonna keep playing around. This is not formulaic. I wish it was, but this is really. This is dang, I still don't like it. Huh. I don't know what's the deal, man. Huh. Maybe it's this frame. Maybe I need to start it before even. Okay. That looks better. Okay, so let's just keep moving on, even though that's not the perfect flow and all that. So we're gonna take the clip, make sure it's selected. So this would be nothing is selected. So click on the clip, do Alt end bracket. So I want the clip to end when she says 2. And so now we're gonna add more keyframes. So we're gonna go to the very next frame, add a keyframe, and let's see, skip all this and go right to where you can see that there it is, the scope, and then put a keyframe at the end over here, keyframe right there, and then keep going until you find a neat spot to end it. And again, this is the kind of stuff that you learn just from watching other edits and just knowing what looks good and what doesn't usually. And so this actually starts getting tough to like work with because the graph gets so weird. So what I like to do is actually make these into 2 separate parts. So you make sure the clip is selected, you do Control Shift D, and it'll cut the clip right there. And so now when you press U, by the way, on the footage, it'll show you the keyframes, just the keyframes, nothing else. And so since there's no footage over here, we can delete these keyframes since they're not doing anything. And there's no footage over here on the bottom piece, so we can delete those keyframes there. And now we can focus in more on making the graph look good. So now we're going to look at the second part. We're going to go in here, put some handles, do the basic shape, see how it looks, change it up how it needs to, however it needs to be changed up. Dang, that's actually really cool. Damn, that's really nice. I just kind of want just a tiny bit more ramping over here in the beginning. Just a tiny bit, just a tad. Just like that. Let me see what that looks like. Woof. I think that looks good. Maybe. Hold on. Let me actually bring this more like that. Let me see if that looks better, maybe. Yeah. No, that's... Is that? And see, like, at a certain point you don't know if it looks good or not, you know? Like, part of me thinks it looks dope, but I'm not sure. We're gonna leave it how it is. You guys kind of get the idea of, I don't know if I can leave that. That's almost too much. Like I said, J and K. K goes to the right keyframe, J goes to the left keyframe. I don't know, this middle keyframe needs to be changed. For sure, dude. 100%. We just need to find the right, what looks the best. We're gonna have to, Jesus, that's even worse, I think that might be even worse. Oh, wait. Is that better? You know what? I don't think that's better. I don't think that's better. Hold on. Oh man, let's see here. Let's try way under what I had it before, or how I had it before. Okay. I don't know how much of this I'm gonna cut out and how much I'm gonna leave in. But if I do happen to cut anything out, just know that there's a lot of trial and error. I think I'm gonna go with that. But this is a lot of trial and error. As you guys can see, this is just like one portion. And see, this whole like, I don't know thing is where other people come in. That's super important, because if you're stuck in your own little bubble, you could be making total shit and you have no idea. Like at some point, you're gonna be editing something for so long that it's just gonna look cool no matter what. And then you need to bring it to other people, and that's such a huge step. And I'll go into that later. But for now, let's actually finish this, just this little part, and then I'll get into console footage. Okay, so we have ourselves, let's see. Alright, so this is pretty much the fundamentals of PC editing on After Effects. I'm going to go ahead and cut the tutorial right here for a second. I'll put a little more clips in just so that there's a little more meat. And then I'll go ahead and show you guys color correction, black bars, what else? Real smart motion blur, super important. And then maybe some effects, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. We can get into the color correction now. Let's start with the black bars actually, since that's way easier. So I like to click empty space, and and to start to create new layers. This right here is empty space, so you can right click, go to new, make a solid, call this black bars. Okay, it's white, but it doesn't actually matter because we're gonna put an effect on it, and we're gonna determine the effect, the color in the effects. Go to effects, generates, grid. Make this 0. Make this 0. Width and height sliders. Make this like some high number, like 3000. It's good. This is the 1080 is the height of the quality of the clips. Of the composition, I mean, not the clips. Well, also the clips, in this case. And so here in the border, we can determine how thick we want our black bars to be. I think I usually go with 200. Yeah. And here we can make the color black. Slide it to the left. That's important so that this little chunk gets out of the screen. And you can make it as big as you want. You can make it 300. You can make it freaking, you know. Let's go with 250, I think. Is that usually what I go with? Maybe. If you want to change, say halfway into the edit, I want to change the black bar size. So check it out. Remember how I was talking about the keyframes? I keep calling them diamonds. I don't know if that triggers anyone. But that's how I thought of them at first. But there's a stopwatch right here. Just click on the border. And so click U so we can see where that keyframe is. And then just go to the next frame. Say after this frame we want it to be like smaller black bars. We can do 150. And there you go, smaller black bars. And so over here they're wider than over here, as you can tell. I'm not going to show it because it's going to like take up time rendering, and I kind of just want to keep going. If you want to disable the keyframing and just have a constant value of something, so right now I want this 250 constant value, you'll notice that my time indicator is on a point that has 250 on it. If I was right here and I clicked this button, all the black bars would be this length, but I want it to be 250. So I'll have my time indicator on this, click the border button, and now everything's 250. You'll see over here it's the same. They're the same black bars. So there you go. Let's go ahead and shorten the composition. So I went, so technically for the composition, you can also do the J and K thing because they're technically keyframes, I guess. I don't know. So you can go from the beginning of the composition through all the keyframes all the way to the end of the composition. If there's no keyframes open, you'll just go from beginning to end. Go to the end, pressing K. Do Alt end bracket on the solid. We don't need the solid to go on to infinity. We can make the composition our trim comp to work area. So now the composition is this work area right here with the song in it and everything. And so now we have our black bars. Let's get on to color correction. Adjustment layer. Always put color correction under the black bars. Black bars need to be on top all the time. You don't want like glows and shit on the black bar. That looks really bad. You can press enter when the layer is selected to change the name. Oh, I pressed enter twice. We're gonna call this layer CC. Press enter again. There you go. And so I haven't really talked about presets. In fact, I haven't talked about pricing at all. And I kind of want to avoid the topic of pricing in this video. If you want to know about pricing, if that's something you're looking for information on it, go ahead and scroll down. I'll pin a comment. It'll probably be my comment, and I'll probably say something down there that'll help you out with the whole pricing issue. But for now, I won't really talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. There are many options is all I will say. But you're gonna, yeah, so there's a lot of options. But there are things called plugins, which I haven't used so far. You know, time remapping is part of After Effects. Black bars, you know, is just a grid that's part of After Effects. But now we're gonna need something outside of After Effects. We don't need it, but this is the easiest way to do color correction. If you guys don't know what color correction is, it's just the filter over the video that makes it look a certain way. So the plugin you'll need for color correction is a thing called Magic Bullet Looks. Again, pricing, look at that pinned comment down below. There might be some links in the description, I don't know yet. That comment will direct you wherever you need to go for that information. But for now, let's just assume that's not the issue. We have Magic Bullet Looks. We're going to click on it, drag it into our CC layer. And now we have it in our CC layer. We can go into edit. I don't know. Let's find a good frame to edit on. And so what's kind of worrying me a little bit is this map is completely, like the coloring and everything is completely different from some of the other parts. So something that looks good on this part might not look good over here, you know what I mean? Which kind of worries me. Unless I just clicked on the same map, or over here, that's what I meant. So you know what I mean? So I'll try to find a cool color correction that looks good kind of everywhere. So we can come in here. When you're starting off, don't be afraid to just use Magic Bullet Looks has a bunch of presets. Over here, looks. So we can look through. There are all these. You can go through, click on them, preview them, Blockbuster, all these different color corrections. Just pick the one you like if you're too afraid to mess around with all these values and stuff. What always kind of looks good is the color film stock section, because these just give you different camera appearances. Let's see. Let's just choose one that looks okay. That one looks fine. Always turn off lens vignette. I can't really say that. Vignette. Turn off grain. And then we can, let's get this out of the fucking way. And this as well. Oh. Okay. So now we have this image. What we can do, we can add some S-curve just to give it a little more contrast. We can put some diffuse to put some glow, although I do like S-glow, which is going to be another plugin. Let's see, diffusion. I like to put in a bunch of these and just mess around with the values. And now we just have like some random color correction. Let's see if it looks good. Okay, this frame actually kind of looks dope. But we kind of have to check to see if it looks good everywhere. That's a little bright, I think. Yeah, that's a little, I think the diffusion needs to relax. We can put a shoulder. Just to kind of like, yeah, just so it doesn't become too bright. That looks fine for the purposes of this tutorial. So that's color correction. Next thing that I like to add just in the color correction bar is real smart motion blur. What this does is it blurs when there's a lot of motion. It blurs that motion. Let me see, maybe I can show you. Let me see. The only problem is it takes like it takes a lot of processing to like render out when rsmb is on. So when I'm just editing, I like to turn it off and then turn it back on right before I render. So as you can see, that's without rsmb, that's with rsmb. You can see like the blurriness because in this part of the clip I made it go really fast, so he's like quickly moving this way, so you can see all the blurs over here. This needs to go over the entire edit, and this is kind of just like a standard. If your edit doesn't have this, it kind of looks weird, it looks off, and rsmb kind of cleans up the edges. It obviously, you know, nothing's gonna look perfect. But rsmb kind of covers up some blemishes sometimes, and it's just a really nice thing to have over the whole edit. So there's a little bug with rsmb that I totally forgot about, that I'm glad that just happened. So when there's emptiness, rsmb freaks out, okay? So you see right here, there's nothing, and then there's clip, and that is not, rsmb does not like that, and it'll create all these weird errors, and you're gonna freak out, and you're gonna think it's just gonna be not a good time. Okay, so make a solid. I like to just make this an underscore. Okay. Okay, go to layer, solid settings, make it black. Okay, okay. Put this under everything. And there you go. Your rsmb problems are solved. And before I forget, I totally forgot to talk about pan crop. Pan crop is a nice way of centering cinematics, giving impact to shots. So let's take this cinematic. What I like to do when I'm centering cinematics, and what that means is sometimes the player will be not centered, will be like off to some side or maybe in some corner. I like to press this button, turn on grid, proportional grid. And if the player isn't kind of in this middle area, I just go ahead and center it. So the way I do that, let's go ahead and press U on the clip, and it'll show us the keyframes just so we can go to the beginning of the clip and then at the end easily. So press P on the clip, press that little stopwatch to start to enable keyframing. Let's center the guy a little bit, so let's go to so Control Z. I didn't want to change that. Let's go to let's center that guy just a little bit. Press U so I can see the rest of my keyframes. Go to the middle keyframe. Press add another keyframe for position. Let's just center him just a little more. And then go to the last keyframe. And just center him even more. Okay, and you'll notice that there's a black line right here. We can just increase the size. So 125 maybe will be, that's actually too much. 110. It's gonna have to be like 113 maybe. Yeah, it's gonna have to be 113. Let's check our keyframes again, just to make sure he's still centered. Perfect. And we want this to be as smooth as possible, so go ahead and click on this area to select all the keyframes. And go into Graph Editor, and you'll see the separate dimensions. Let's actually separate dimensions so we can actually see the keyframes. So pink is position X, green is position Y. Y is not changing, so I go ahead and click that. Oh, Control Z because both were selected right there. Go ahead and just unselect that, and then we can just focus on position X. So if you remember the time remapping, right? It's fast in the edges and slow in the middle. And so when we're looking at these keyframes, we want to match the time remap graph, because in the middle it's slow, right? But if the position is moving, since the footage is so slow, you'll be able to notice the clip moving around. And that looks awful. So we're just going to go ahead and copy the time remap graph pretty much. Just do like this sort of thing. And then let's watch it, see if that's good. So press B to start the work area, N to end the work area. So you can see the clip is centered. Actually looks much better, I feel like. But that's pan crop for centering clips. There's of course the frag clips. We can go ahead and turn off the grid since we're not going to be like positioning these. We're just going to keep it right there. We are going to scale them though, and that's also considered pan crop. So pan is what we were doing, crop is what we're about to do, I guess. So what we can do, go press S to see the size, scale I mean. So let's go into the shot. The shot is like where most of the pan crop will be. So press S on the shot, hit the stopwatch, press U again to see the rest of the keyframes, and just go ahead and copy those keyframes. So for the shot, we want to scale it up. So let's make it 110. Although that's a little too subtle. Let's just like let's go at 125 just to kind of make it a little more obvious. Hit this empty area that selects all the keyframes. Go into graph editor. Zoom in here. And we're going to want the handlebar to go out like this. And there you go. This is when the shot happens. It's slowly coming back. So it's big and then it slowly zooms back out. And then what's nice, even when there is no shot, it could be nice to like zoom back in sometimes. But this has to be a little more subtle. Let's do 115 actually. This has to be a little more subtle. So instead of just doing it like this, I also like to make it even steeper right here. And so let's see how that looks. You know what I mean? So it zooms in on the shot, and then it quickly zooms in to those dead bodies, or to those dead guys. I think that looks pretty nice. And so there we go, that's our pan crop. And then we can just go ahead and put in some effects, but I won't actually do that in this video. I think I've shown, this is pretty much, for beginners, this is pretty much all you need to know. If you can master just this, syncing and color correction, rsmb, but syncing and flow, this is going to be like, as a beginner especially, this is going to be your main focus. If you can nail it down, I mean, you're set, you know what I mean? Especially if you're starting off, people like to add in, you know, all this glitchy shit, all these overlays, you know what I mean? Like they have no idea how to sync and flow properly, and then they're trying to put in all these extra things, right? And effects really need to be the cherry on top. But if the cake is like shit, I mean, cherry on top is not going to do anything. It's not going to fix anything. It's not going to look good. And so that's, if you can remember just one thing from this whole tutorial, definitely focus on sync and flow before anything else. Even if you're not a beginner. You obviously know that though if you're not a beginner. But sync and flow definitely goes before everything else. And so that about wraps up kind of the time remap portion and the color correction, black bars, all that. I showed you everything. So I'll just go ahead and let me just go ahead and show you the render settings, and then we'll move on to console and Twixtor real quick. So we're gonna go, so with the main comp selected, I just double clicked that on accident, but with the main comp selected, go to composition, add to render queue, go to lossless, output module lossless. So depending on the version of After Effects you have, there will be something in here called H.463 or 863 or something, I forgot. That's a really good file format. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but in the most recent version of After Effects, we don't have it. At least I don't have it in the default version. But if you're using the most recent version of After Effects, go ahead and choose AVI. Go ahead and go to Format Options and go ahead and pick a Lagrith Lossless Codec. This is a free codec. that you could just download. Super simple. Press OK. OK. And then output to, you'll just choose where it'll save to. I just have a folder with my edits in it. I'll call this tutorial edit. Okay. Save. And then just hit render. It's as easy as that, guys. That's pretty much it when it comes to effects. You know, there's a bunch of stuff you can add in, but that's kind of more advanced. So let me show you guys how to edit console and Twixtor, and then we'll move on to the next part of the tutorial, which is more on the community focused and all that. So let me bring in those clips for you guys. So here we are back in After Effects. This will be the console portion of the tutorial. All right, we can get a four snipe clip that are pretty spread out. So I'm looking for 4 kills that are spread out. Yeah, this one is actually nice. I'll use this clip. 4 sniper headshots. That'll work. Let's see. Let's try to find that. What I mainly do is I put in the gun sounds first, and if the gun sounds sound good, like if the song sounds good with the gunshots in it, then I bring in the clip and I make the clip fit to what I've kind of constructed. But I need to keep the clip in mind. So this clip has 4 spread out headshots, and so I'm gonna try to spread these gun sounds out as best as I can. I'll be giving out these pretty much all my SFX for CSGO, COD, all of that. I don't think that should be a reason why people can't edit something, is because they don't have the gun sounds. So I'm just gonna give that out. Link in the description. Actually, maybe a 3 sniper clip. 3 snipes would be better. We're gonna go with 3 snipes instead of the 4. The clips that you use are never like set in stone, at least for me, unless it's like mentioned. 3 snipes. S150. Turn that off. Always mute the clips, because when you're changing up when you're manipulating the time, it fucks up with the game sounds, so just mute it. That's why we're putting in our own gun sounds. Let's find where that first snipe is. So here's our first snipe. Control Shift D. Okay. So open bracket to snap right to that spot. And so here's the part where it kind of depends what style you're going for. If you're going for like editing, like really editing the clip, it's going to be a little different than showing the play. You know what I mean? So I'm going to try to do both. So when we zoom in, we can see what frame our time indicator is looking at. Let's go 1 frame back. Press the end bracket with our bottom part selected. And then go back to this marker. It's nice to like see him zoom in. So let's drag the clip over here when I'm zooming in. And let's watch what we have so far. Okay, so obviously we didn't even see the guy walking in. So we're gonna have to fix that. So now we can use some Twixtor. So Twixtor, wait, okay, Twixtor. This is a plugin. Again, for pricing and all that kind of stuff, look at that pinned comment. Let's just drag Twixtor in here. Press the speed stopwatch. Press U on the clip so you can see the keyframes that are going on. Now this is super important. This is something that it took me a while to like figure out, but it made using Twixtor a nightmare because I didn't know about this. You always want to start with 100, and then in the very next frame you can make the speed like say 500 if you want. Let's go ahead and cut the clip actually right there. So Alt end bracket to and the clip right where your time indicator is. So now what we have so far is this starting 100 speed, and then this 500. So what I'm doing is, so for time remap, the keyframes were attached to a point in time. Now the keyframes are attached to a speed. So this first frame is going at 100 speed, but the next frame is going at 500 speed. So if I were to play this, this would just be a 5. It would just be going 5 times the speed. Fast as fuck, right? Again, make sure the clip is muted. And we're gonna go with the same shape. If you guys remember, fast, slow, fast. So let's find like a. That's good. Let's make that. Let's try 50 speed. So this is a 30 FPS clip, right? Which means that if when you slow it down to 50%, which is half speed, that means it's now 15 FPS. But what's so nice about Twixtor is the frame blending. That's why everyone likes it. So here it's 50 speed, 30 FPS, going at half the speed is 15 frames per second. But what Twixtor will do is it will blend the frames, and this looks good when there's not like any motion really. Like this part, I'm just like hard scoping this fucking lane, like a pleb. So that's nice when there's like barely any motion. But when there's a lot of motion, like say I was turning like 90 degrees, and I try to Twixtor that, it would look so bad. And maybe I'll show you later on how bad it looks. And so here we have always started at 100 speed, and then we have a high speed, low speed, high speed. And then this is going to be the graph you're going to want to make. And I think those high speeds are actually not high enough, to be honest. And it's always nice to look at this last frame, just to see if you can. So the point is to change these speeds up in a way that the last frame will show the guy, and he's not there yet. So let's go up to 1,000 actually. Okay, 1,000. KK to look at the. Oh, see, so now, oh, you see that blending right there? That's awful. So we want to catch the frame right before he shoots, like as close as possible. Maybe right there actually would be. And this is a lot of trial and error, just like everything else. So this is a little bit of a post-production insert. I realized that in my console portion, I didn't really show off Twixtor to its full glory. I kind of like, I didn't really Twixtor that much in that portion. I came back and Twixtored a lot of the stuff that I just left cut up. And also for the CC, I didn't really show any good CC, because even in the PC edit, I changed up the color correction. So that's something about editing. I'm always, I mean, editors always change and improve. And so I just kind of wanted to come back a little later and show you guys what more Twixtor looks like. I'll show you guys the values of the Twixtor I used and the settings on the color correction. And the color correction is it's still a little bit too contrasty. I don't know if I'll stick with it, but I can go ahead and show you that real quick. Just the settings and all that. So we're gonna go in here into Magic Bullet Looks. The main way to learn Magic Bullet Looks is just if you're too nervous to play around with all the different things that you can play around with, just use preset. I mean, Magic Bullet Looks has a bunch of preset filters already. But once you get more comfortable, you can throw stuff in, play around, take it out if it doesn't look good. There's no set way to do Magic Bullet Looks. If it can open, okay. So I have all this stuff. So I'll just go ahead and click through. So this is just the diffusion. You can go ahead and copy these if you'd like. Four-way color. I don't know if this is actually doing anything. Oh yeah, a little bit. Oh yeah, it's just desaturating, pretty much. I don't know if I want that desaturated. I might change these around, like I said. Some colorista. I only changed these color values. I took out the greens because I didn't like the greens. Oh, I was also well, I'll talk about that later. Some S curves, some shoulder. So feel free to just copy those values if you'd like. And then let me get into some of the twixtoring and show you guys those values. So I think this part right here is probably the best twixtoring out of this whole thing. So let me kind of focus in on that. So let me end it right there. Let me just pre-render real quick. Okay, so let's just open up. So I'll press on the clip, press U, it'll show you the twixtoring. I just, yeah, I don't know. Do you guys want to see the graphs and stuff? Here you go. Here are the handlebars. Very steep curves. And yeah, this is mostly what they're gonna look like. This U shape, like I've been saying, fast on the sides of the clips, and slow in the middle. And then here, I think I just slowed it down. Yeah, I just slowed it down right after the shot because I like the way the sniper looks like that. And yeah, that's the basic gist. You want it slow in the middle, quick on the sides, and I guess it's kind of hard to explain, but these sides, like the clip ends on sync points, and you're gonna, like, the song dictates that. So it's not formulaic. You're just gonna have to go with what looks the best. A lot of trial and error, like I've been saying. If you want to see me edit this whole edit from start to finish, I've already been streaming. I will be saving my past broadcasts. It's a long streaming session. But I will be uploading it as unlisted. Go ahead and look at the description below. I'll link to the unlisted video where I'm literally editing the entire thing. If you guys want to watch me edit a whole console edit, since I'm more known for my console editing, I'm sure some people might want to watch that. For any brave souls who actually sit there through the whole thing, congratulations. That's actually insane. But yeah, that is an option if you actually want to do that. If you find that I'm not clear enough in the tutorial, or I'm missing, like, why aren't you showing me how you're doing this stuff, whatever it may be, go ahead and I literally sit there and stream myself editing. And it's a stream, so I'm not just editing. I'll be watching, I'll be doing other stuff, talking with chat. So if you want to sit through that whole thing, feel free to do so. If not, if I explained it well enough, there you go. But that's the end of this part of the tutorial, and we'll move on to the next part. So this part of the tutorial is where I will be showing you guys the editing community, like showing you guys how to grow and get feedback from people. The quickest, so this is what I did, guys. You have to find amazing editors, okay? Because once you watch amazing editing, it's kind of like if you want to be an author, it's nice to, like, read amazing pieces of literature from other people, what they've been able to make. The first person I would recommend everyone go watch is a guy called Delineate. The thing is, he unlisted all his videos, but luckily for you guys, there's a bunch of people that saved his videos. He is a meme for how good he is at editing, guys. But Delineate is by far the best PC editor. I have a playlist on my channel. There'll be a link in the description. This guy shows you how it's done. Not only editing and flow, perfect impact, essentially, for the majority of these videos. I would consider it to be perfect flow, perfect impact. The creativity is just insane. I mean, I don't want to sit here and go through these videos, but especially in chroma key, where's that thing? Yeah, chroma key. I mean, the creativity is just incredible. And when you watch edits like this, personally for me, watching amazing editing like this helped me understand what editing is and should be like, and how to be creative. And if you guys can remember, to the beginning of the tutorial, I talked about how you listen to the song and imagine what it should look like. This right here is how you imagine how editing should be like. Okay, so you listen to a song and you're imagining. You kind of, what helps that imagination is watching amazing editors. The second incredible resource, and I told him I was gonna do this, and he didn't want that big of a shout out, but I gotta be honest, guys, this guy helped me out so much in editing and growing, and his channel and his Twitch channel and everything. He didn't tell me to do this, like I said, but I have to be honest, it's super helpful. So go ahead and search up T3C on YouTube. I'll leave a link in the description. What he does is, this is a community channel, and people, what they will do is they will edit something, and then they will put his logo or intro, somewhere in their edit, and if it's good enough, he will upload their edit onto this channel and give them exposure, because he has like a bunch of subscribers and a bunch of people are sub to this, just to see and find new editors. This is such an amazing resource if you guys want to look through amazing editing. I mean, this stuff is actually incredible. It's most of these edits are unbelievable. I will never reach this point. I can see that personally. I mean, the standards are so high. And also, another amazing resource from this same guy, Enigma2go, that's his name, is a stream. What he will do, he'll start the stream up, and people will send him their edits, and he'll literally sit there and look through your edit, give you feedback, give you ops. That's what feedback is called in the editing community. He'll give you ops. I mean, he's a pretty good editor himself, so that's super helpful. When you're editing something, if you guys caught on, when I was editing, right, I was even audibly saying how I didn't know if it was good or not, what I was making. That'll happen to you a lot. You'll be editing and you'll be in this bubble, and that's where other people need to come in and give you feedback, tell you what to fix, what to change, what you can improve on. And that's just how you grow, guys. Once you get the basics down, even as you're trying to get the basics down, guys like Tugo will help you out. There's so many editors that stream. Another personal favorite is hlym. A crispy shout out to hlym, guys. He is an amazing editor. He edits live on stream. If you have any questions, he'll answer it, and he'll watch your edits. He'll give you feedback on your edits. Mito's also a great editor streamer, although he does HCs, which means that he'll give you footage, and there'll be a time limit on how long you can edit, and then he'll look through all your edits. So the main thing I'm trying to express to you guys is what is important is that you find other amazing editors, you watch how they do it, you become inspired, you get, you try to like copy them in a sense, not copy them, but like, absorb their techniques. And then once you're done editing something, or once you've edited something, you go ahead and show other people, and they will tell you how to fix it, how to improve, and all that stuff. And that's how you get better at editing. Okay, that is the cycle. Okay, and this is how I learned how to edit. I'm still garbage. I understand, but I personally think I grew pretty quickly. My skills and all that kind of stuff, even though I don't have any, the few I do have, I was able to obtain by being a part of this community, getting inspired and getting feedback, and I just kind of want to show you guys. I was a gamer before. I had no idea about the editing community. It was actually pretty difficult for me to find out about all this kind of stuff. I didn't know editors streamed. I didn't care. But if you guys want to get into editing, this is how I recommend you do that. And that's pretty much it for the tutorial, guys. I tried to show you guys the basics of editing and where you can go to grow and get inspired. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go ahead and share this video around. I think it's pretty useful, pretty helpful if people want to get into editing, if they've never edited before, or you know, if you think editing looks cool and you want to get into it. I think this was somewhat helpful. Like I said, timestamps, links, everything in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.